Hey folks, this is Rhykker with a gaming news wrap-up video where we discuss the happenings of the week. Feel free to check out our previous episode, and make sure you have subscription notifications turned on to be alerted of new episodes. So first off, following up on our story about Cyberpunk 2077. As we discussed in our previous episode, after not hearing anything about this game for quite some time, the game's Twitter account suddenly beeped. Well, according to an alleged scoop by Polish website GRY Online, Cyberpunk 2077 may feature at E3 2018. The article's official English translation can be found on GamePressure.com, links will be in the description, and claims, quote, "We've recently learned that the Warsaw-based studio, CD Projekt Red, will fly to Los Angeles with a fully playable demo of Cyberpunk that will be available for journalists and other media representatives behind closed doors. We've acquired the information about CD Projekt Red's plan to showcase the game during the most important gaming event of the year, E3, through our associated Polish website, gryonline.pl, from two independent sources. In both cases, we cannot reveal their identity. That's standard practice. Please keep in mind, though, that any news of this sort should be treated with caution until CD Projekt Red officially announces that Cyberpunk 2077 will be shown at E3. There's absolutely no certainty that this will happen. However, we strongly believe that our sources are right. And according to those sources, a new trailer for Cyberpunk 2077 is said to be one of the highlights of the conferences that happen before E3 officially opens its doors. Now, whether this is a legit leak or not, we'll find out this summer. E3 takes place June 12th through 14th. But leave a comment with your thoughts. Are you excited for this game, and do you think this leak is real? I'm inclined to believe it. Next, just a quick Overwatch news story. We're just a few days away from the release of the new map Blizzard World, as well as the new cosmetics that'll come with it. January 23rd will be the official release date, and Blizzard has been teasing us by revealing some of the items we can expect to get in those updated loot boxes. We already knew about several legendary skins that were previewed at BlizzCon that were really awesome, but we also got a preview of a completely new skin, an ancient Egyptian themed skin for Pharah called Asp. That's asp with a P at the end. It's a type of venomous snake in Egypt. But it looks really amazing. I love ancient Egyptian themed things. I'll put a link in the description below, but do be on the lookout because Blizzard will keep previewing things, and by the time you've seen this video, there may already be a new skin that was revealed. Next, we've got an update to the iPhone story that we've been following for a few weeks now. Basically, a couple weeks ago, we reported that Apple was deliberately slowing down older models of phones, allegedly due to battery issues, and there was a subsequent update to this story in which Apple was offering discounted battery replacements until December 2018. Well, there's a new update this week, and apparently there are supply issues. iPhone 6 Plus users may have to wait until March or April of this year for their battery replacements. So if you have an iPhone 6 Plus that has slowed down recently, and you wanted to get your battery replaced in order to fix it, you may be told that you'll have to wait a few months. Next, we'll just quickly note that Riot released a new League of Legends cinematic, promoting the start of the game's new season. And even if you are not a League of Legends player, it's a really cool cinematic. If you like Blizzard cinematics, you'd like this one. Even if you have no concept of who these characters are or what's going on, it's really well done. Alright, on to one of our big stories here, and this one is kind of crazy. This story kind of touches upon everything. There's conspiracy in here, there's microtransactions, there's deadly AI, there's skeevy businessmen, and it all started on 4chan, of all places. So take that with a grain of salt. So here's how the story starts. This post appears on 4chan. A Dead Man's program has activated, and you have been selected as part of the reception avenue because the content is related to video games, and you are marked as a media receipt. If you are the owner, you must enter the password into campaign blah blah before your deadline, or else part 2 of 2 will be released. Then there was a bunch of info on accessing the information, some stuff that basically required decryption. So first of all, what is a Dead Man switch? Originally, it meant a switch that would automatically turn a machine off if its human operator were killed. So imagine some dangerous piece of machinery that is on, let's say something happens to the operator, and then the machine is just going haywire. With a Dead Man switch, the machine will just automatically shut down once it recognizes that there's not someone holding down the button actively anymore. It's a failsafe, or at least that's how it started off. Now it no longer needs to be a fail-safe, it could be a fail-deadly. For instance, automation were to make something bad happen if the switch recognizes that there is no longer a human operator. So think of the show Lost, right? Where our intrepid heroes had to push a button every 108 minutes, or the show's writers have to finally decide where to take the plot. So in this case, it seems that the dead man switch detected that whoever set up this information leak was no longer around to push the button to stop the leak from going public. Maybe he was blackmailing someone and that person had him kidnapped. Or maybe he went on vacation and forgot about the switch. Regardless, our story goes on. So 4chan users cracked into the sensitive data and eventually also got access to part 2. And the data seemed to be some kind of pitch meeting PowerPoint presentation for a company selling a service to game companies. Specifically, an AI that spies on players to dynamically alter their gameplay experience and offer custom-made ads and microtransaction offers. So the story starts exploding. It gets picked up by Reddit, it's being passed around and discussed everywhere. And here's the scary part. The threads start getting nuked. They're just poof, vanishing. Vanishing from 4chan, vanishing from Reddit, vanishing from Imgur, where the 50+ images of these PowerPoint slides are getting erased. People are resorting to cached versions and archives, and they're re-uploading everywhere they can to keep this alive. The biggest Reddit thread about this got over 30,000 upvotes, and it just blinked out. While it wasn't really gone, it's still there. I still have the link to the thread, and I can still access the thread and see it, but you can't find it anymore. You can't track it down. It's disappeared from listings amongst other threads. It's like it wasn't erased, but it's just been delisted. Now, whether this leak is legit or not is the big question. Many people feel strongly that this is fake, but others point to the Disappearing Act as a reason that it's legit. But let's take a look at the contents. I read through all 50+ pages, and it's one hell of a story. It's clearly a draft rather than a final copy. There are notes in the presentation, there are placeholders, and there are even some printouts at the end with handwritten notes, as though someone's boss were evaluating what was written and giving notes on how to improve it. There's also some redacted data. Seems like mostly company names that seem like they may be Microsoft, Windows, Facebook, but that's just speculation on my part. And again, the gist of this presentation is that it's a sales pitch. These people want a company to buy their product, this AI. An AI that dynamically sends targeted ads at optimized times. Quote, "Our AI knows when to advertise a free bonus and when to advertise a premium offer, i.e. microtransaction. It can often accurately predict what the ad should say, what colors to use, where to display on screen, and when the customer should look at it. Then, after it measures the response, it will know how to do it better next time for all users." So this is what makes it an AI rather than just a program. It learns and adapts. It changes its behavior without the intervention of a human programmer. Now, beyond the basic sales pitch, there are some pretty bold claims about what their system is capable of. They've allegedly partnered with a company that is putting cameras into billboards, and through this they seem to be highlighting a non-gaming specific application, where through those cameras they're using facial recognition and an internet connection to look up the viewer as a person. In other words, their AI is going to use those cameras to find out who you are, who is you, who are you that is looking at the ad right now. They're going to track your cell phone as you're driving past a billboard. They're going to monitor your reception to every ad that you pass by, how much you pay attention to the ads you pass by. And then it basically creates a user profile for you, so that employees at retail stores, when you come in to visit, can pull up an iPad, look you up, and offer deals custom tailored for you. Another big claim this company makes is the degree to which they can use your phone to spy on you and learn incredible amounts of information about you. For instance, they'll use your cell phone's microphone to listen to the engine noise of your vehicle to figure out what kind of vehicle you drive, and from that estimate your yearly income. When you're home, it's going to monitor your walking space. It's going to basically map out your home while you're walking around. And it's going to guess the square footage of your home, again, to guess your annual income. There are literally pictures in this document of 3D maps that this AI is capable of creating of your home. The AI can apparently identify an incredible range of sounds, even going so far as to identify what kind of food you're eating based on the sound of your chewing. The AI will identify if a baby crying in the background will end your gaming session, and then it'll wait for the baby to go back to sleep before giving you a little pop-up offering you something enticing to get back to gaming. Specifically for game applications, it's going to analyze your behavior and figure out what your spending habits are, whether you're spending based on frustration, for instance. That's just one of a large number of variables that they list. But if it is frustration, for instance, they may dynamically alter the game to artificially make you frustrated, to then offer you something to alleviate the frustration that, hey, you gotta pay for. Another factor that it tries to figure out is whether you experience social envy. In other words, seeing other people with a cool skin, for instance, and then it'll, again, artificially create scenarios to evoke envy in you, going so far as to create fake players that could type out sentences and stuff to you, and you're thinking it's a real human, but it's actually just an AI-controlled player. It'll also do things like, let's say you spend $10 on 1,000 in-game currency one week. Then the next week, it may just offer you 850 in-game currency for those $10. And if you still buy it, then the following week, they might drop it to 700 in-game currency for $10. And they'll keep doing this until the AI recognizes that you've changed your spending habits. Now, this all seems pretty scary, Orwellian, Big Brother invasion of privacy type stuff. And this gets even scarier when you see the legal loophole that they point out, that they acknowledge that it is illegal to target children for emotional manipulation. But they say that because it's an AI doing it, it's okay. An AI is not a person and therefore cannot be charged with a crime. Thankfully, though, the author does specify, quote, "Users of our software can opt out of passive monitoring by turning off the app. We never allow companies we partner with to hide the fact that a user is being monitored." Now, while that is at least somewhat comforting, I mean, think of it this way. How many times do you install an app and it asks, this app wants access to your microphone and your GPS and whatever, and you just eventually start saying okay to these things? I know some of you don't. Some of you say, no, I don't allow this. But most people just do. Most people install apps and they just, yeah, all the permissions. I don't care. All the permissions. Just give me the app. Big Brother isn't stealing our privacy. We're giving it away freely. But regardless, those are some of the major points that I got from those 50+ pages. And again, we come back to, is this real? Now, throughout the presentation, there was some terminology that was highly suspect to me. The author literally uses the term bait and switching as something that they do, and this is something illegal for a company to do to customers. So why would a marketing company that's trying to sell a product say that they're basically doing something illegal? They also mention psychological manipulation tactics. They mention indirect taxations. They make repeated use of the word manipulate or manipulation, and it all just seems like very negatively connotative vernacular. It's the kind of terms that we expect to hear from villains, basically. It just feels like this is fake and designed to trigger outrage with these terms. That you have some mustache-twirling bad guy manipulating us and taxing us, bait and switching. So my takeaway from this is either this is fake, designed to evoke outrage, or this company has a terrible copywriter. For instance, the word manipulate. It has a negative connotation. If I were to write copy for this sales pitch, I would change that to influence. They mean basically the same thing, but influence is a much nicer sounding word that doesn't make you sound like an evil sumbitch. Then at some point they pull out this line, based on innumerable factors. Which, to me, to put that in a sales pitch, it sounds like either your company is too lazy or too incompetent to list or understand what those innumerable factors are. Then they use terms like their ridiculously successful model, or their amazing so-and-so. And if in a sales pitch a company were to use that kind of language with me, I'd tell them to piss off. Give me hard data, don't insult my intelligence with stupid adjectives. Another place they're saying, for some reason, again, it makes you look incompetent. Why don't you know the reason? Why even say it? Why admit that you don't seem to know the reason? It just seems like this presentation is either fake and deliberately made to spark outrage, or was written up by someone who is not particularly good or experienced at their job. Maybe this was even a student project being evaluated by a professor. Then the little icing on the cake is that they use some screenshots from EA's upcoming game Anthem, almost as though they want to ride the coattails of the whole EA outrage. One thing I do want to call attention to, though, are the final pages or images, and these are very different. These seem to be printouts. These are laid out differently. They're in portrait rather than landscape. These have handwritten notes in the margins, and the tone in here is quite different from the rest of the presentation. These pages speak out against gambling on loot boxes, and focus instead on providing an experience for the player. It almost seems like a completely different author, a much more credible one. So overall, I don't know what to make of this. I'm inclined to think it's fake, but that's a hell of a lot of work to put into something that's fake. And the fact that it's being nuked does raise suspicions. Some people point out that the technology involved doesn't exist, or at least seems implausible, but others are pointing out that the technological claims that this presentation makes are based on tech that does in fact exist today, and that this is all realistic. So I turn the question to you. Is this real or not? The sad thing for me is, even if this is fake, it could be real. It's just a matter of time. And that's gonna wrap up this video. As a reminder, feel free to leave a comment on every story that we covered this week. Thanks for watching. Special thanks to my Twitch and Patreon supporters for making these videos possible. If you like what I do and want to support the creation of more videos, you can support me on Patreon, where we've got a variety of backer rewards, including behind the scenes content and monthly meetups, and your support is immensely appreciated. If you enjoyed this video, please share it, check out these other videos, and subscribe to join Rhykker's Raiders for more gaming content.